Why is it that the most mysterious chapters of our past are the ones we're never taught? Why does human history seem to begin, not with a slow evolution, but with a sudden explosion of intelligence, language, mathematics, and architecture? What if the reason isn't evolution, but intervention? There exists a book so ancient, so revealing, that it was deliberately banned from the Bible. A book that speaks of divine beings who descended to earth, of giants who roamed the land, of knowledge so powerful it had to be hidden, and of a man named Enoch who walked with God, flew with angels, and witnessed the end of the world before the flood ever came. This book is known as the Book of Enoch, and it might hold the key to the real origin of humanity, one that has been forgotten or erased. Tonight, we dive deep into the secrets that ancient scrolls tried to preserve, secrets that reveal an alternate version of our past, one where angels rebel, gods fall, and humans are caught in between. So fasten your seat belt, because what you're about to hear might rewrite everything you thought you knew. But first, you might just change your destiny if you like and subscribe before this video ends. In the ancient days, when the earth was still young and the stars were still new, the heavens sent down guardians, not to rule, not to interfere, but to watch. They were called the Watchers, celestial beings, neither human nor God, tasked with observing humanity's progress from a distance. They were meant to be silent witnesses, eyes of heaven, but the longer they watched, the more they felt. The more they felt, the more they desired. And that desire became their downfall. The Book of Enoch tells us that these angels, once pure, began to lust after the daughters of men. They descended not in spirit, but in form. They took women for themselves, not one, not a few, but many. And from these forbidden unions came children, not ordinary children, but beings of immense size and strength, the Nephilim. They were unlike anything the earth had ever seen, colossal in form, wild in spirit. They devoured the earth and everything on it, animals, crops, even humans. They were not content to simply exist. They dominated, they ruled, they destroyed. What began as a divine assignment quickly spiraled into a cosmic disaster. The Watchers had broken their vow. They had polluted creation. They had unleashed a force that threatened to unravel everything. The cries of humankind reached heaven, and heaven responded. God did not merely frown upon the Watchers. He passed judgment. He commanded Archangel Michael, the great warrior of the heavens, to act. Michael descended like a flame. He gathered his legions, and he cast the Watchers into a deep abyss, a prison beneath the earth where no light reaches, no sound escapes, and time itself slows to silence. But that wasn't enough. The corruption had spread too far. The Nephilim could not be redeemed. They were born of rebellion, birthed from a union that heaven never permitted, and so the earth itself would be cleansed. Thus came the great flood, not merely to punish mankind for wickedness, but to erase the legacy of the Watchers, to drown the giants, to bury the unnatural. Yet not all was lost. Amidst the chaos and collapse stood one man, one soul who walked so closely with God that even the angels deferred to him. Enoch. He was no ordinary prophet. He did not die like other men. The heavens opened for him, and a chariot of fire descended. He was lifted up body and soul into the higher realms. There he became the voice between two worlds. He spoke on behalf of the Watchers. He recorded visions of Earth's past, present, and terrifying future. He saw the ends of the earth, the secrets of the stars, the chambers of heaven. But why Enoch? Why was he chosen to see what no man had seen? And why was his book later forbidden? Perhaps the real reason is that it told too much of the truth. In the next chapter, we uncover the terrifying secrets the flood tried to. The flood came not as a storm, but as a sentence. It was not rain that fell from the sky, it was judgment. According to the Book of Enoch, the great flood wasn't just divine punishment for human sin. It was a full-scale cleansing operation, designed to erase the Nephilim and the corrupted bloodline of the Watchers. A reset for humanity. But water doesn't just destroy, it buries, it conceals, it silences. Beneath the oceans, rivers, and mud of ages past, what might still lie hidden? Across the globe, from Mesopotamia to Mesoamerica, flood myths abound. Civilizations separated by oceans tell the same tale. A flood that came suddenly. Giants that walked the earth. A chosen man who survived. A divine warning. And a world that had to begin again. Could this be coincidence? Or are these fractured memories of a single cataclysmic truth? Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of a sudden global flood event dating back to around 10,000 BCE. Geologists point to the end of the last ice age, when glacial meltwaters surged across continents. But what if there was more to it than melting ice? The Book of Enoch hints that the earth itself became unstable. The giants were tearing apart ecosystems. The balance of life was unraveling, and heaven could no longer watch in silence. But there's another layer to this story. The flood didn't just erase bodies, it erased knowledge. The Nephilim and the Watchers were more than monsters. They were builders. They taught forbidden arts, alchemy, weaponry, astrology, the cutting of roots, the signs of the stars. Enoch names them one by one. Azazel taught men how to make swords and shields. Semjaza taught enchantments and root cutting. Barakijal taught astrology, and others revealed secrets never meant for mankind. These weren't merely tools. They were accelerants, gifts that pushed early humans beyond their natural boundaries. But knowledge without wisdom is fire in the hands of children. It burned, it corrupted, and heaven intervened. The flood was meant to wipe the slate clean. But not all knowledge was lost. Some of it was hidden, encoded in stone, carved into temples, pyramids, and megaliths that still baffle modern science. Across the globe, we find ruins too advanced for their time, structures that align perfectly with stars, stones that weigh hundreds of tons, fitted so tightly no blade can pass between them, calendars more accurate than our own, mathematics and metallurgy beyond explanation. Could this be the lost inheritance of the Watchers? If so, then the flood didn't succeed in erasing everything. It only succeeded in hiding it. And one man, Enoch, may have preserved the truth. Before he vanished, he recorded what he saw, what he learned, and what was coming next. But those records were deemed too dangerous, too revealing. And so they were buried too, not under water, but under silence. In the next chapter, we follow the trail of the Nephilim and uncover the ancient giants that may have walked the earth long after the floodwaters receded. The flood came. The giants were drowned. The earth was washed clean. At least, that's the story we were told. But what if some of them survived? What if the Nephilim walked among humans even after the waters receded, no longer as conquerors but as gods? All across the world, ancient ruins whisper of beings that defy our understanding. Stones too large for men to lift, temples aligned to constellations, writings that speak of titans, sky people, and giant kings. Who built them? And more importantly, how? In Zanzibar, explorer Marco Polo reported a race of giants so strong, each could carry 4 men with ease. In Tangier, Morocco, legends speak of a founding giant named Antaeus. And in Ireland, the mythical giant's causeway, with its 40,000 interlocking basalt columns, is said to be the handiwork of the Irish giant Fionn mac Cumhaill, who built it to reach Scotland and battle another titan. These are not isolated fables. They are global echoes of something real. The Book of Enoch describes the Nephilim not just as monsters, but as civilizers. They taught mankind how to build, how to chart the stars, how to harvest metal from rock. They were both destroyers and architects, both beasts and gods. In Greek mythology, the Titans rebelled against Olympus. In Norse legends, the Jotnar, giant beings, fought against the Aesir gods. In Hindu epics, the Rakshasas roamed the earth with enormous power. In Native American stories, giants lived in the land before the ancestors and were hunted to extinction. The pattern is too consistent to ignore. These were not separate myths. They may have been regional memories of a single shared truth, a forgotten age when Earth was home to beings far beyond our scale. And if they lived, even briefly, among early humans, how much of our knowledge did they pass down? Our ancestors didn't start from zero. They leaped from mud huts to star maps, from cave walls to pyramids, from survival to civilization. Was it evolution or inheritance? Some researchers now believe that the Nephilim were not all destroyed in the flood. Some escaped, some hid, and some may have become the very figures worshipped by ancient cultures, immortalized as sky gods, giant kings, and founders of empires. Enoch wrote that these beings were mighty ones of old, men of renown. Sound familiar? The book of Genesis echoes the same phrase. Could this be the Bible's subtle trace of a history too disturbing to tell? If the Nephilim survived, perhaps in hidden valleys, deep mountains, or isolated lands, what became of their knowledge? And if they died, what remains of their legacy in stones, in myths, in monuments that still stand when everything else has fallen? Maybe the gods we once worshipped were the giants we were told never existed. In the next chapter, we unravel the mysterious identity of Enoch himself, a man claimed by Jews, Christians, Muslims, Egyptians, and even the Greeks. But who was he really? A being whose true identity was split and scattered across cultures. The Bible tells us Enoch lived 365 years. He walked with God, and then he vanished. God took him, it says. No death, no grave, just disappearance. But the mystery doesn't end there. because Enoch reappears under different names in other traditions. In Islam, he is known as Idris, a prophet, a sage, the first to write with a pen, the one who taught astronomy and mathematics. Some believe he was taken to the fourth heaven and still lives there. In ancient Egypt, he is called Sarid, the one who foresaw the great flood and built the pyramids to preserve sacred knowledge. Others call him Thoth, the god of wisdom. Still others link him with Hermes Trismegistus, the mythical teacher of alchemy, astrology, and sacred geometry. How can one man appear in so many forms, unless he wasn't just a man? The Muslim historian Al-Manasudi wrote that Enoch, under the name Idris, was the first king philosopher. He ruled the earth with justice, and when he vanished, the world entered darkness. The 14th century scholar Taqi al-Din Ahmed claimed that Enoch was known under four names: Enoch, Idris, Hermes, and Sarid. Four names, one figure, one mission: to guard the secrets of heaven. And what were those secrets? According to Hermetic texts, Hermes Trismegistus was given visions of the structure of the universe. He taught about the music of the spheres, celestial harmonies behind reality. He warned that one day humans would forget their divine origins, and only those who remembered the stars would find the path home. That sounds a lot like Enoch, because in the Book of Enoch, he too journeys through the heavens. He is shown the mechanics of the cosmos, the movement of the sun and moon, the names of angels, the fate of souls. He was not just observing, he was learning, recording, preserving. What if Enoch didn't vanish, but graduated? What if he became more than a man, an archetype, a guardian of forbidden truths, a whisper in every age under a new name in a new language wearing a different crown? The builders of the pyramids claimed him. The sages of Babylon wrote in his style. The alchemists of the Middle Ages swore by his name. Is it possible that Enoch is the original initiated one, the first human to awaken to the secrets of the divine matrix? In Hebrew, the name Enoch means dedicated or initiated. And that's exactly what he became, the first initiate, the first human to ascend, and perhaps the first human to become something more. But if Enoch became Hermes and Hermes became myth, what else was hidden in his transformation? In the next chapter, we follow the trail deeper into Sumer, where ancient tablets speak of gods from the sky. And there we discover another name for the Watchers, the Anunnaki. Long before the name Enoch was ever spoken, long before Moses or even Abraham, there was Sumer, in the cradle of civilization between the Tigris and Euphrates. An ancient people carved stories into stone, stories of beings from the sky, beings they called Anunnaki. In the Sumerian tongue, Anunnaki means those who came from the heavens. They were not metaphorical gods. They descended physically. They walked among humans. They ruled, taught, and punished. Sound familiar? The Watchers of the Book of Enoch were also said to come from heaven. They too descended to earth. They too taught mankind forbidden knowledge. And they too defied divine command by taking human wives. Are we reading the same story told in different languages? In the Book of Enoch, the Watchers are named Semjaza, Azazel, Arakiel. These weren't just watchers, they were leaders, commanders, and when they fell, the earth trembled. In the Sumerian tablets, the Anunnaki are also named. Enki, Enlil, Anu, they fought, they split. Some wanted to help humanity, others wanted to enslave it. And just like the Watchers, the Anunnaki were said to interbreed with humans. From that union came beings of immense power, demigods, kings, and monsters. Both stories speak of a great flood sent by higher powers to cleanse the earth. In the Book of Enoch, God punishes the Watchers. In Sumerian myth, the god Enlil floods the earth to wipe out the chaos unleashed by the Anunnaki's interference. Same outcome, same judgment, same warning, but the parallels don't end there. In both traditions, there is a chosen human, a righteous man warned in advance. In Enoch's version, it is Noah, the grandson of Enoch. In Sumerian myth, it is Utnapishtim, who builds a great boat and survives the deluge. Could these two be the same person? Could Enoch himself have been a scribe of not one, but two worlds? Some scholars believe the Book of Enoch is not merely religious text. It is an echo, a Hebrew retelling of a Sumerian origin. Others go further. They suggest that the Watchers were never angels in the spiritual sense, but extraterrestrial beings, remembered as divine only because of their power and knowledge. Think of it, beings who descend from the skies, teach humans metallurgy, agriculture, and astronomy, interbreed with locals, cause mass disruption, and are eventually removed by a higher authority. If this is true, then the Book of Enoch is more than sacred myth. It's suppressed history. Perhaps the great secret is not that angels sinned, but that beings from beyond the stars changed the course of human evolution. If so, then the flood was not just divine wrath, it was containment, an attempt to stop a genetic experiment gone wrong. And if the Anunnaki and the Watchers are the same, then what we've called mythology might be memory, buried, scrambled, but real. In the final chapter, we ask the most forbidden question of all. Why was the Book of Enoch banned from the Bible? And who decided the truths we were allowed to remember, and those we were meant to forget? The Book of Enoch, a text once revered, quoted by early church fathers, studied by Jewish mystics, held sacred by Ethiopian Christians for over 2,000 years. So why was it banned? Why would a book that speaks of angels, righteousness, and divine justice be erased from the Bible we know today? To find the answer, we must look not at the heavens, but at earthly power. In the centuries after Christ's death, the early Christian world was chaotic. Dozens of gospels, hundreds of interpretations, too many truths and not enough control. The church, newly formed and struggling for unity, faced a choice. Embrace complexity or create a canon. They chose order. They chose a version of history that could be explained, taught, and enforced. And Enoch didn't fit. The Book of Enoch spoke of angels falling from grace, of forbidden unions, of secret knowledge passed from celestial beings to humans. It painted a universe far stranger and more dangerous than the church was ready to accept. Worse still, it gave humanity too much agency, too much knowledge. It hinted that we were not mere sheep to be led, but apprentices of the divine, capable of understanding the stars, the earth, and the secrets between. Such a vision was thrilling and threatening, so the book was buried, first in decisions, then in silence, and finally under centuries of dust. But dust doesn't destroy, it preserves. And in 1946, that dust was disturbed when teenage shepherds in Qumran threw a rock into a cave and heard a jar shatter. The silence broke. Inside that cave were the Dead Sea Scrolls. Inside those scrolls was the Book of Enoch, and inside that book was a truth we were never meant to remember. It tells us that history is deeper than we think, that humanity's origin may not be fully human, that forces beyond our world shaped our path, and that a man named Enoch once saw it all, then vanished, leaving behind only words and warnings. So ask yourself, what else have we forgotten, and who benefits from our forgetting? Because if one book can be buried for 2,000 years, what other truths are still waiting to be found? What is the real story of humanity? And what if it didn't begin with us at all?